Have you ever wondered how women avoided pregnancy in a world with no pills, no condoms, and no real medical guidance? What if I told you they used honey-soaked sponges, crocodile dung, and vinegar-soaked cloth as birth control? Would you trust a method involving hot mercury and prayer? Back then, a single mistake could mean a lifetime of poverty or death in childbirth. There were no safe options, only secrets passed in hushed tones. Herbs sold under the table, and methods that might kill you faster than they worked. You think the past was romantic? You probably wouldn't survive this. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Watch until the end, because every detail will give you goosebumps. You're not in a modern clinic. You're in a cramped wooden cottage. Late 1800s, maybe New York, maybe Kentucky. The bed creaks beneath you. A single candle flickers. You just missed your period, and your heart drops. Because back then, missing a period wasn't just anxiety-inducing. It was life-altering. No pills, no clinics, no guarantees. Pregnancy wasn't a joyful announcement, it was often a death sentence. In the 1800s, maternal mortality rates were brutal. For every 100 births, 1 or 2 women died. That's not counting the ones who didn't survive until term. And if you weren't married? Add shame, exile. Maybe a stint in a grimy, reform home. You didn't accidentally get pregnant. You ruined your future. So, people got scared. And where there's fear, there's invention. Some married couples rationed intimacy like wartime sugar. Others, especially among the wealthy, quietly sought advice from ladies' doctors, a euphemism for someone who knew how to prevent the unspoken. But working class women? You learned from your mother, your neighbor, or the woman who stitched your hems. Historians still argue whether most people even understood how reproduction worked. Many believed you could only conceive during your period. Others thought, thinking lustful thoughts was dangerous. Misinformation was medicine's evil twin. And trust me, Google would have been burned as a witch. So you listen carefully, because one misstep, one misplaced calendar mark, and your life could splinter forever. You roll up your sleeves and reach for whatever protection you can find, not latex. Not pills, but something far stranger. Let's start with sheep intestines. Yes, you heard that right. Wealthier men used French letters. Crude condoms made from animal guts. Soaked, scraped, and tied with ribbon. Not exactly romantic, but better than nothing. Right? Now picture a woman in 1840s New Orleans crouched by her hearth, mixing honey, linen, and a bit of vinegar into what she calls a pessary. She folds it into a cloth and inserts it, because that's what her grandmother told her worked. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't, but when there's no doctor to ask, superstition becomes science. Crocodile dung, olive oil, lemon juice. These weren't myths in the 1800s. They were DIY contraception. Even Queen Anne's lace, a wildflower, was chewed as a natural sperm blocker. You learn quickly that natural doesn't always mean safe. Mercury, for example, was sometimes swallowed to clear the womb. Effective? Maybe. Lethal? Definitely. This wasn't fringe behavior. These practices floated everywhere, from enslaved women preserving autonomy through herbal knowledge, to upper-class wives sneaking into apothecaries under veils. Even doctors quietly sold female regulation powders under the counter. Historians still debate which of these concoctions worked and which were deadly nonsense. But to survive, you try it anyway, because hope, when bottled in a jar of pennyroyal extract, always feels like medicine. You watch the moon, you count the days, you pray your math is better than your luck. Welcome to the rhythm method, 19th century style. No ovulation trackers, no apps, just gut instinct and guesses passed down like family recipes. Avoid intimacy on the full moon. Someone says, no, it's mid-cycle. Another corrects, truth is, nobody really knows. So couples do what they can. Some practice withdrawal, pulling out before climax, a method as old as time and just as unreliable. Doctors quietly warned it could weaken the male spirit, while moralists claimed it was a sin equal to murder. Still, plenty used it, and plenty failed. Other families embraced periods of abstinence, especially after childbirth. But in a world where your worth might be measured in children, especially sons, refusing your husband too often could raise suspicion or even provoke violence. So women became subtle, feigned illness, timed visits to relatives, slept with children in the bed as a buffer. And all the while, the calendar ruled your life. A slip-up on day 10 instead of 12? That might mean another mouth to feed. The pressure was constant, quiet, and crushing. Historians still argue whether women truly believed in the rhythm method or simply clung to it because it was all they had. You start tracking too, marking the days with chalk behind the pantry door, like it's some secret code to a future you can control. It isn't, but the illusion of control? That's its own kind of power. But what if prevention fails? Then you enter darker waters, whispers behind church walls, coded ads in newspapers, and herbs sold under the counter with a wink. You're not looking for birth control anymore. You're looking for something to end what's already begun. Pennyroyal tea, tansy oil, blue cohosh. These names float through the air like folklore. Brewed too strong, they might work. Brewed wrong, they might shut down your kidneys. Still, you sip, because every cramp that follows brings hope. Or dread. Enter the female physician. Not always licensed, often feared, but absolutely necessary. She might be a midwife, an herbalist, or just the only woman in town bold enough to help. Some were lifesavers, others, butchers. The line was blurry, the risk enormous. Still, women knocked on their doors at midnight, clutching coins in desperation. There were also pills, sort of, sold as female regulators or remedies for irregular menses. They were marketed in euphemisms. Everyone knew what they were for. The ingredients? Sometimes just herbs, other times turpentine or lead, and yet, people bought them. Because when your choices are ruin or risk, you take the risk. Historians still debate how common these abortions were, especially before the procedure was criminalized. But they happened, in back rooms, behind curtains, under candlelight, and every woman who went through it carried the memory like a secret tattoo. You wrap yourself in that silence. Because you can't cry, you can't tell, you just survive. Again, you sit in the parlor, hands folded, while the preacher drones about virtue and womanhood. He says a good wife bears children, as God intended. The doctor, when he visits, won't even answer your questions. Best not to worry your pretty head. He mumbles, scribbling laudanum onto a slip of paper. Your body, your life, is up for debate. But not by you. Medicine in the 1800s was a boys' club steeped in morality. Contraceptives were condemned as sinful, unnatural, even criminal. Some states passed laws so vague they banned the discussion of birth control. And yet, the demand never stopped. Pharmacies kept mysterious bottles behind the counter. Traveling salesmen hawked restorative tonics to desperate wives. The more forbidden it became, the more people wanted it. Women wrote coded letters to each other. Midwives shared recipes laced with centuries of hidden wisdom. Working-class women leaned on knowledge passed from enslaved healers, immigrant herb wives, and long-forgotten crones. Resistance lived in quiet defiance. Historians still argue whether this resistance was coordinated or instinctive, but either way, it was real. Every woman who whispered a warning, every husband who secretly bought a sheath, every pharmacist who looked the other way, they were part of a slow, aching revolution. And you're in it too. Just by surviving, just by refusing to accept that God's will means suffering and silence. Science is decades away from catching up. But the fight? It's already begun. What do you think about this topic? Don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to stay updated on our latest videos. We'd love to hear from you. For now, goodbye and see you next time.